So I was on YouTube just now and came across a video by, I believe her name is RZ, and the video is why manifestation is instant. And I agree with her. I agree with what she said in the video. I wanted to do my own take, so shout out to her for the subject matter. I know people talk about this, right? And so here's the thing. I'll tell you guys like a story, an example of this right now, which is, it's actually similar to the story that she shared. A few years back, this was like right before COVID and everything, I had decided that I wanted to partake in some plant medicine. Now, I had kind of experimented with like the basic stuff before, but I wanted to really get into something more, something deeper. And so I put out this intention. I believe I even wrote it down in a notebook at the time. And I went about my business. You know, I went out, actually, at the time I was still living in LA, and I went to this place, the USC Village. They had just built it recently at the time, and it is just like this really, really nice place. There's a place there called Kava, and Kava's gotten more popular now, but at the time, again, it was like there weren't that many of them, and it was just my favorite place to go eat. It was relaxing, the vibe out there was nice, so I went there. And I'm just walking around and I see they have these outdoor sofas over there. There's a nice fountain and all this. And there's this woman sitting there. And we catch eyes as I'm walking. And there's like this light filtering through the trees. And it's kind of almost like this magical moment where she smiles at me, I smile at her. And I'm like, hey, or I can't remember if she said hey first or whatever. But, I sit down and we start talking. Now, I don't remember the exact way that this conversation played out because again, this was like 5 years ago at this point, but I do remember vividly seeing her there because as the conversation unfolded, somehow we got on the subject of plant medicine, and she told me, she's like, yeah, I actually have I'm going to this ceremony, you should come. And that was my first experience with to be honest with you guys, that was peyote that I did, but they also had ayahuasca, they had all these other things there. And it was my first experience with any of these more, like I said, deeper types of medicine. And the entire thing unfolded in such a way that is like, yeah, I was just naturally going about my day. And this is the detached action that I talk about, where it's like, the bridge of events, the bridge of incidents, whatever it might be, it unfolds in a way that you never would have been able to know, but it's also because you're out there, you're out and about. I was doing my thing. I wasn't like holding on to this like really attached energy with the whole thing. And there's actually been times in my life as well before where I am looking to get, let's say, a particular thing. And I put out, it's like, oh, I need this right now. And it actually hasn't been as easy for it to happen. So it's not like a cut and dry thing, everyone wants to make it, the logical mind wants this like very cut and dry thing. And I try to boil it down to that in my videos because I do think there's a way that you can speak to your subconscious. There's practices that you can get into that inner equilibrium that I talk about. You can practice that detached action. You can get into that state where you no longer need it. But I think a lot of the times it comes through taking action. Another example that I'll give you guys, I've been talking lately about reaching out to people. This goes in the context of friendships, relationships, romantic, as any business, whatever it might be. But lately I've been reaching out to some of these guys that are in like some of these mastermind groups that are really successful. Some of them are really like operating at a high level, entrepreneurs. They're going on these trips. We're like creating these masterminds where other entrepreneurs get together and hosting these events and these trips. So I've been reaching out to some of them, and some of them, because the fact of the matter is these guys have a lot of people in their DMs. You could say the same thing for like an attractive woman. She's got a lot of guys in her DMs, And so these types of situations, when you're attempting to reach out to somebody that is already very saturated with the amount of social, I guess you could say, social media, and not social media, like social activity. Like there's a high volume of people in their inbox. They're in demand, right? These people that are in demand. you just have to keep being persistent, because some of these guys they didn't respond to my messages. They didn't, they wouldn't open my messages. They weren't responding, but then they would leave something on their story, right? And I just replied to their story, or they were asking some question, doing a poll, right? And it's a matter of fact, that detached action that lets the universe know, or lets people know in this case as well, that you are persistent yet detached, right? You're not sending them these overly needy messages, or like, oh, like, please respond, bro, or like anything like this. It's just like, I sent them a message. Okay, they didn't get to it, they didn't see it, or if they saw it, but they, chose not to respond at the time. Maybe they've got other things going on. And so I just calmly follow up again a week later, whatever it might be. It could be 2 weeks later. But the point is, you are putting those little pings out with people, little vibes out. Same thing with dating, right? You message that girl. Most of these girls on these dating apps have like hundreds of matches. And so whatever the case might be, you might just need to message her again. But people are worried about, oh, I don't want to message the person again. I don't want to do this. Well, it all comes down to your energy. Are you feeling needy and desperate for this person to respond? Or are you just in this state of awareness where you're like, I still want this, right? I still want to make this connection with this person. I don't need it, but I would like it, right? I would like for it to happen, because I notice myself sometimes if I have sent a very like long message to somebody, that type of energy, it's almost like the energy behind that message a lot of the time is more of that, like, oh, like I really need a response, and again, it's not cut and dry, guys. Like sometimes you can send a long message. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's needy, but it can look like that. It can come across like that. But paying attention to yourself, getting back to your own energy, and really being in the now moment, because the point of power is in the now, is going to be extremely helpful when you are doing this stuff, when you're communicating with people, when you are reaching out to people and having good communication with people, again, is one extremely important skill that you need in order to manifest what you want. Because regardless, again, any of these realms, friendship, business, romance, it all involves people. And so the biggest things that we want, the biggest goals that we probably have, are contingent upon our ability to interact with people effectively, And so basically, what this all comes down what this all comes down to, I'm getting like some messages back on my phone right now, is just that awareness, and then that self-trust. Because again, all this stuff, when it comes to making YouTube videos, when it comes to doing anything, people talk about authenticity, right? What is really authenticity? I think a lot of it has to do with just trusting yourself. The thing is, we all have reference points, right? We all have enough going on in our mind to be like, okay, what is my opinion though? Because somebody else might be like, oh, you shouldn't use this picture, right? Or you should make your thumbnail like this, or you should use this style approach. But ultimately, you are the only one that knows yourself. Like, you're the only one that actually knows. When you see an image of yourself, when you see a picture of yourself, you got to pick the picture where you're like, damn, I look fucking sick in this picture, right? Because you might have all your friends like, oh, you need to post this picture, or you need to do this. But really it comes down to your own self-trust, because only like you can see the version of yourself that you want to present. You know how you, like, what makes you, when you see yourself, you're like, that's who I am, right? That is that version of me that I want to be expressing. And I'm using the example of pictures because it's an easy example for us to grasp onto. But this can come in the form of your style of communication. It comes in the form of the way that you choose to present yourself. It could be in your fashion sense. It could be in any way that you choose to express what you're doing. But all of it, again, the more that you begin to reflect upon and be deliberate and be in the present moment, the less you will be then being like, oh, well, what did this person say? What did that person say? Again, this is a point of contention with a lot of people, and even sometimes internally myself, because sometimes, if I was to go and hire like a YouTube coach or something, or let's say with the dating app thing, sometimes other people that have experience in this area will be able to put you on a path, and it's important to take into consideration what they're saying, However, at the end of the day, you have to do what makes sense to you. If I was to get hire some thumbnail coach, for example, and he's telling me to post like the thumbnails where I'm going like this with the surprise face, and it's like the like the shock value, the shock entertainment, bright colors everywhere, that's not really the vibe that I want to present here. That's not really the way that I want to do things. I've gotten actually a lot of emails from people saying, oh, like, let me design some thumbnails for you. Let me do some test video editing and stuff for you. And I appreciate that. However, I also like the fact of just being able to do natural, off the cuff videos. I personally enjoy watching videos like that from other creators. So that's why I want to do that myself. So it's about also embracing what you like, embracing and knowing what do you enjoy, what is it that makes you feel good, and bringing that out and bringing that out of yourself and bringing it out for other people to experience that, because that is what makes you magnetic. That is what makes you attractive to people and also to your desires themselves. So, I guess, I kind of went a little bit all around the place with this video, but yeah, instant manifestation really occurs when you're not hung up. You're not checking the 3D. You're not checking to see that person's reaction. You're not, after you send that message, all like, oh, fuck, like, did I send the right message? Like, blah, blah, blah. Because now what's happening? Everything that we've been talking about, right? What do I talk about in my book? What do I talk about on this channel? What you focus on grows. If you are focused on, oh, like, I hope I didn't fuck that up. I hope I didn't say the wrong thing on this date. I hope I didn't make a bad video just now. Now you are focused on what you don't want, right? You are focused on failure rather than being focused on seeing that prize, seeing that in your mind's eye. One effective thing you can even do is straight up visualization. If you are going up and speaking with people in general in a social setting, imagine them reacting positively. That is going to get you in the habit of, that becomes your baseline. If you are one of these people like I used to be, where you have social anxiety, you're scared of putting yourself out there, you're scared of, what are people going to think? I hope that people don't judge me. I hope that people don't think that I'm like you're kind of apprehensive and afraid of putting yourself out there because you feel a lack of self-trust. It can be an important stepping stone. That's why I talk about these techniques sometimes. These techniques are powerful. If you want to go ahead, do that. I've had success with this. Imagine you going up to that girl, or you approaching that guy, whatever it might be, in the context of whatever that it is that you want to experience success with, and imagine them just so thrilled that you went and introduced yourself. Imagine them just so happy that you went up and spoke to them. And to be honest with you, the example that I gave at the beginning of this video, it was kind of like that. It was kind of like this magical moment when I met that woman, like I said, sitting down in the benches in the courtyard. It was like on the sofa. It was like, she was just like, the eye contact, it was just like, there was this magnetic thing. I didn't pursue any sort of romantic type of dynamic with her, but I will say that if I had wanted to, it would have been on the table, because there was just this like magnetic energy going on between us. But that happens when you trust yourself. That happens when you step into that version of yourself, and when you expect the best, when you expect positivity and positive results in your reality. It doesn't happen from questioning yourself constantly. And again, going back to the manifestation aspect of this, that is true as well. What you believe is possible for you, now you can bring it into your reality. And that's one of the reasons that I'm actually DMing these people, like I mentioned, these entrepreneurs and stuff, just to get around them. Even speaking to these guys, I can feel my energy increasing. I was on the phone with one of them last night, and he's in like Koh Samui, which is this place in Thailand. And he was like, yeah, bro, like, you got to come out here. We got a bunch of guys. He's got like some villa out there and stuff. And I'm not sure if I'm going to attend that in particular. But like I said, just getting the ball rolling, getting this momentum so that it becomes more and more a part of my reality is something very powerful. The more that I'm around people that are experiencing success in all these various areas, they're pushing themselves in their fitness, they're pushing themselves with their mindset, they're pushing themselves, to travel, explore, put themselves out there, make content, be more social, meet high quality people, right? Now it's becoming more and more part of your reality. And, just like I said, the more that you put yourself out there, the more that you intend what you focus on, it's going to grow, guys. So with that being said, I hope that this video wasn't too all over the place. I wanted to keep it to the theme and the subject matter, but when I start talking sometimes, ideas just start rolling and I just kind of start free flowing. So anyways, guys, much love as always, and I will see you guys in the next video.